Anyways, I'll restart that. All right, guys, welcome to the Buff Show. Today we have a market update coming your way. So we're reviewing May numbers. Today it's June 16th. It's a holiday today.
It is?
Yeah, Juneteenth.
Utah's observing it on the Monday of the week.
What a holiday.
Juneteenth.
It's celebrating when slavery ended in the United States. Yeah. Anyways, but we're here working. So
no banker's hours here.
no banker's hours here. You guys ready to get into this?
About time. If you'd start us off, it'd be nice.
Okay. Let's Ben's feeling a little saucy. He just
got back from a trip.
He just got back from Hawaii. He rolled in his flip-flops and tank top, and you would think
they made me change my shirt.
I said you should wear your shirt. And
Kate is nervous in my muscles.
How was Hawaii?
Loved it.
Loved it?
I recommend it.
Kauai?
Kauai, yep.
What was the highlight?
Probably the Poly Coast hike.
Yeah.
For sure.
Over the Dolphins?
Oh, the Dolphins was a good memory, but the hike was an
dude.
all-day experience. Waterfall.
Those Dolphins are sweet.
He's got us all wishing we were in Hawaii right now, but
Basically a native now, so no big deal.
We're going to just go over some numbers.
Let's do it.
You want to lead us off?
Fine, I guess I will. Okay, new listings. So from May 2024 to May 2025, we went up 4.6% year over year. So there was 6,395 listings in May of 2025 and 6,114 listings of May 2024. So that's what?
Couple hundred.
Yeah. So about a 4.6% increase. We're starting to see that all over. Just tick up.
It's tapering down though, because like the new listing pickup has been happening since January. Like we were 16%, 8%, 20% in March, and then 14%, and now we're down to 4.6. So I feel like the new listing craze is like calming down slightly,
which is super normal for this time of year.
Yeah,
the spring fever was the start, and now we're starting to get into summertime when people have better things to do.
But we're not up as there's not as big of a change from that of last year. It's kind of tapering off, which is interesting. Just something to kind of pay attention to. I guess we're getting back to maybe closer to last year's numbers as far as the month of May. So pending sales, these are kind of the properties which offers have been accepted in a given month. We're down 4.5% from that of May of last year. So, I mean, that's pretty stagnant, I would say.
More homes are coming on the market, less are going under contract.
Yeah.
Closed sales, account of the actual sales that closed in a given month. So we are down 1.3% from May of 2024 to May of 2025.
So pretty flat line there too.
Not a whole lot of excitement. Days on market until sale. So the average number of days between a property is listed and when an offer is accepted, not closed until an offer is accepted. So May of 24, the average time on market was 49 days. And 25, it's 57 days. So we're an increase about 16%. Kind of seeing this all over the place too, just longer time on market.
And we've been increasing like double-digit numbers as far as the percentage change year over year since August of 2024. Like it's been in the double digits, except for March. March was only 6.7%, but everything else was in between 10 and 20% increase.
It's going to take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Just be patient, sellers.
And depending on what area you're looking in, because if you go into Morgan, you're 81 days on market, which we're going to cover that later. And then if you go into Ogden Valley in May, it was 101 days on market. Yeah. So like there's all these sub-markets, which I've talked to some people and they're like, I thought Ogden Valley would be hotter because normally it is, but you have to think about it. It's like a secondary market.
Right. It's a vacation home, higher price point. Kind of like Kate was touching on earlier. It's a lot based on price points. And Morgan and Ogden Valley micro markets are higher price points.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're seeing a lot of, anywhere from 3 to 6, maybe even 700,000. If it's a good home in a good spot, there's still a good chance it'll go quick.
One, you have to think about the motivation, like people's motivation on a second home.
Yeah.
As the market slows down, maybe they're not even getting a second home, right? Because the markets are crazy. I've had a lot of people that have talking about building, and with all the tariffs and the volatility in the construction realm, they're like,
We're gonna hold off.
We're
for a
going to
little
hold
bit,
off. Yeah.
for sure.
Because it's super hard to even figure out what a build would cost you right now.
Oh yeah.
Like I just ordered steel for a metal fence, and my jaw dropped when I got the first quote back.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, 50% steel tariffs makes sense. So, anyways, just keep in mind that days on market's from the time that you list to the time that you're under contract, not from the time that you're closed. So
Or tack another 30 to 40 days on from the time you go under contract.
And you were just talking about this when we have some listings that are like they've been on the market 30, 40 days. And it's just, I feel like it's easy to get impatient, but you almost have to give yourself time to get it sold. Like we have a house in Eden, our black house that we haven't sold yet. Our lease is up in October, the end of October. And me and Suzanne, we just put it up on KSL and Zillow, and we're going to get it on the MLS in
October.
Probably like July. So
Give
we're kind
yourself
of,
a couple months buffer.
yeah, just trying to get it out there. So it's like we're planning on that 90 days to 100 days in Ogden Valley for it to sell. If our goal is to have it, and honestly, I'm going on the days on market. Like I should be tagged. It's 130, right? And if that's the case,
You should have
I
listed
should have
this-
it listed right now, but I don't want to list it right now because
What if somebody comes in and wants to buy it and you still have a leasee? in
yeah,
there?
it's just it's hard.
But then you run into people who have to sell their home to purchase the next home.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thought. I think that a lot of people are trying to deal with too, is to do it the right way. You need to sell it, get your home listed, get it under contract, then start looking almost, or at least be really darn close to getting it under contract. But then it's like the homes you're seeing on the market are probably not going to be the homes that are going to be on the market by the time you're actually looking.
Yeah.
And so that can be kind of a scary thought.
It's funny how the taboo from a contingent to sell offer is.
Yeah.
Certain times of the year, certain markets, you don't even look at them. You tell them don't even
What
send
do
your
you
offer over.
on your listings? Is there any scenario where you really look at if they come to you with a subject to sell?
I think it becomes motivation of the seller, and if you're getting a lot of traction and stuff, you might want to tell them to hold off. Like, hey, keep them in the loop.
But you'll just add in
yeah.
a time clause even if you did work with one,
Right.
right?
But I think the biggest thing for me on that is the home that the buyer is trying
Yep,
to
you want
sell.
to see what their
If that home is in a market that's typically moving quickly,
Yeah.
what their
I
price
think it's more appealing, or at least it's something to consider.
Well, and how ready they are, how fast it can be
Right.
on.
But if it's more, or if the home's already on the market, but if it's a higher priced home that's typically going to be on the market for 100 days or more,
Yeah.
like that's not very
attractive.
appealing. Yeah, because the answer is like I don't have any idea when that home's going to go under contract.
Yeah, if you're looking to make that change and you have a house to sell, you can make your offer contingent upon you finding a house to buy, but get your house out there as soon as possible. Like it closes the gap, like it answers all the unknown questions, like how much money will we have when our house is sold? What price can we get for it? Like,
Well, and it's hard because like I've done this multiple times where we've made an offer on a house with a contingency to sell, and I've had multiple times where it's worked out great. We've gotten close to top dollar on their house that they're selling, and we were able to negotiate a pretty decent price on the house that they're purchasing. But you also got to keep in mind that if that is the route you're going to choose to go, like there is a chance that you're going to get beat up on the sell of your house, the price, and then you're also not going to have a whole lot of room to negotiate on the purchase.
that happens to me 90% of the time.
Yeah.
It's worked out for me a few times, but
You lose a lot of leverage.
I just had some clients, like a few that we just ran through that with, and
Same.
we just get counters back from the sellers, and they're like, if we're going to carry the contract, we're not super flexible on price, and we're adding in a time clause. And then it's like, well, that doesn't do us any good.
Yeah, we might as well not even be under contract.
We might as well
Yeah.
not be under contract. And then I had one seller counter back, if we're going to go under contract with you, we want the time clause, and you have to drop your price $10K every 2 weeks.
Oh, so they dictated the sell
Yeah.
on the other side. Smart though.
It is smart, but it's like, and the buyers were like, "Nah, it's not great." And I was
not
like,
worth it,
"We're jumping the gun." And so then we ended up just putting the pedal on the brakes a little bit. But it's It's hard.
Mhm.
If you have a house to sell, let's get it out there sooner than later. Okay, median. Who's got median
I
sales
think it
price?
was you.
Kate does.
I got it. Okay.
No, it's me.
Median.
No, it is me.
That's what I was
Did I
thinking. I
have
think
days
I
on
thought you
market?
did the days on
Yeah,
market.
you did days on market.
Yeah, you have it.
All right. Ben's got a headache. We're going to give him a median sales price. So basically, this is where you add up all the, I guess you line up all the sales in a given month and you start whacking them off till you get into the middle one. That's the median sales price. And we are up 0.1%. So basically, we're up 500 bucks.
changed. Yeah.
Yep.
Five-
Flat line.
Hasn't changed.
500 bucks. So pretty flat. And if you look at the graph, like I'd say since middle of 2022, it's been pretty flat, like within probably 20 grand, which isn't a lot on a $500,000 house.
Average sales price. So the average sales price of all closed sales, not accounting for seller concessions in a given month, we're actually up 4.5% from 2024 to 2025. That's roughly $30,000. Yeah, so your median is about the same, but your average is up just a little bit.
It's funny what people can do with numbers.
Mhm.
Yep. You can tell whatever story you want depending on how you calculate something.
Which, if you look at the average, it's crazy because, like, I would say the peak of our real estate market was in spring to midsummer of 2022, and we are about at that. If not,
We're
we've
higher.
we,
than
we
that. I would say we're higher.
well, we bumped up. I think we're maybe down a little bit
yeah, maybe.
from like the peak of, but we're right in line. So if you were to go from like,
If you purchase in 2022 right now, you're probably not sitting with a whole lot of equity on it.
Probably
Yeah.
about flat line and equity.
yeah,
And it's interesting to look at that. We actually, everyone talks about the 2022 craze and how quick. I mean, stuff sold a lot faster. But in January, February of 2025, we were actually selling higher than the highest peak in 2022
on our average, yeah,
on our averages. Yep.
yeah. But it's interesting to note too, if you were to go back spring of 2023 to where we're at now in 2025, so
Is-
that's 2 years,
That drop, that
two
montage.
two and a
man.
half years, we're up probably like 50 to
50 grand,
to
yeah.
70 grand.
That's the bottom that everyone was talking about after the craze.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You know,
yeah. End of 2022 to
started 23. Yep.
yeah, that winter of 2022 was like the bottom,
Mhm.
and we've been climbing since.
Huh.
Weird.
Percent of original list price received. So the percentage found when dividing the property's sale price by its original list price value, then taking the average for all properties sold in a given month, not accounting for seller concessions. And you hear that a lot, not accounting for seller concessions. So we're going off a list price and then going off a price received. But there's always that weird contingency, and you're seeing it a lot right now where the sellers are given a lot of seller paid closings and other contingencies that they're or concessions that they're giving to buyers to motivate them to buy their home that don't necessarily reflect in the
Which
end sell price.
They can be huge. Like I just closed one a few weeks ago with 20 grand. The buyers got 20 grand
seller
in
paid.
seller paid concessions. And it was cool how they utilized it. They did like a 1% interest rate buy down for that first year.
Just gambling that the rates are going to drop so they can refi or just help them get in and get.
Just to make their payments a little bit cheaper for that first year. And if they were to refi, they'd get that money back. So it was kind of
Oh,
a
really?
cool, yeah, it was kind of a cool setup. So like, it was just cool. We had that extra money there, and instead of permanently buying down the rate, they just did like that 1%, just so their payments are easier. And they're doing a bunch of like little upgrades to the house and things like that.
Perfect.
So
Keep some cash in their pocket paying for their selling. their
There's
closing costs.
definitely deals out there, you know.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely deals to be had out there for the buyer right now if you're looking.
yeah,
So the change from May of 24 to 25 is only 0.5%. So not a whole bunch in change, but you're getting about a 3 to 4% bargaining chip, or sellers are willing to negotiate a little bit more right now.
on
I think,
average.
I think a
on
lot of that
average.
has to do with the time on market. I think a lot of sellers list and they're kind of still in that 2020, 2021 to 2022 mindset of the home's going to sell fairly quickly, and it just doesn't. We're kind of back up to 30, 40, 60 days on market, and they get a little antsy. And so they're willing to drop the price
Yeah.
down.
I'm so
Okay.
glad you got this one.
Yeah, housing affordability. This gauges how affordable the housing market is, and it takes into consideration the median price household income and the median priced home and interest rates. And the gist of it is we're 1.4% more affordable today than we were that of May of last year. Still super unaffordable, but
Yep.
we're slightly more affordable than last year. I don't even know why that would be, but maybe wages have gone up and interest rates down slightly or
Well,
something.
I think from
think the
May
price
of
of
last year,
housing
yeah,
is-
has gone down just ever so slightly.
Yeah, just a tiny bit.
Maybe.
Inventory of homes for sale, the number of properties available for sale and active status at the end of a given month. So we are currently from 2024 to 2025 of May, we're up 30.3%, which is a pretty big jump where we've gone from 11,800 properties to 15,388 properties.
Which is crazy. That's like the biggest change that I think we're seeing, because the last time we had that many homes on the market was 2015, so a decade ago. But, and people are saying this all the time, like are we in the buyer's market now? And we're going to cover that kind of in the next slide. But I want people to realize, so we're at 15,000 homes on the market. In the height of the Great Recession, we were at 30,000 homes on the market. And
I can't tell you how many people I've had recently ask me, "Are you gonna see a big market crash?"
I mean, we're
And
only at
that's
15,000.
My
Like,
response, honestly, and maybe I'm wrong here, but my response is if you're looking for some big 2008 crash, you're not going to get it yet.
yeah.
But I think we're in our real estate market recession ish right now. Like you're kind of in the middle of it, and you're kind of seeing that here. I mean, it looks like 2022 was our lowest, and we're working our way back up.
Well, and the biggest thing to remember too is Utah is so hot in the housing shortage.
Yeah.
So
We've gone up 30%, and Utah is still considered to be in a housing shortage.
Right.
So, and the crazy thing is too, like I just went back to closed sales because that kind of tells us the variation. So if we would go back on closed sales, when we were at roughly 4,000 closed sales per month, it was back in 2013. But in 2009, 10, at the lull, or like the kind of where that Great Recession was, we were only at 3,000 homes.
What was 2013? You said
The housing.
Five.
You gotta
We
call
were
it.
we were about 4,000.
so. You had 30,000 homes on the
30,000
market and
homes.
3,000 sales.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So like we're still a long ways away from that.
From
I
a
don't-
buyer's quote unquote market.
I don't know if a long ways. Let's jump into the next stat because the
And-
next one kind of
Point of clarity: Peyton wasn't alive in the Great Recession. We're talking about the housing bubble in '08. You keep calling it the Great Recession. And it's actually they're
why
saying,
did I call it the Great Recession?
you kept calling
No,
it
the Great Depression. It was the Great Recession.
Sorry,
Ben's got a headache.
yeah, I got a headache.
Ben has a- You were alive in the Great Recession.
Yeah, is that what it's called? The Great Recession?
I'm pretty sure it's a Great Recession. We'll ask ChatGPT in a minute. All right, the month supply of inventory. This is what a lot of people go off of. Like, when's it a buyer's market and when's it a seller market? So, kind of what people say, and we're comparing statewide. So there might be some markets where it is a buyer's market, but statewide, I would still consider it a seller's market because they say anything 6 months supply of inventory and under is a seller's market. 6 months supply and over is a buyer's market, and we're at 4.4 months. Last May, we were 3.5 months, so we're up 25%. But again, if I draw a line, like when were we at this point in the market, it was 2015.
Yep.
But if you go back to 2009 and 10 or 8, like the peak was 12 months supply. So 12 months supply in 2008, and we're only at 4.4 months supply. Like we still have a
Long ways
lot
to
of
go.
demand.
Yeah.
Like that kind of gauges demand and inventory. So if we weren't to get any new listings in a month, how long would it take us to run out? We're only 4.4 months supply of inventory, when in 2008, there was 12 months supply. Like you could not get any new
Yeah.
list in the last year.
It's all relative. We are higher than we have been in the last 10 years on our month supply, but we're only 1/3 of what
It
the housing
was.
bubble was, or the
Yeah.
Great Recession, whatever you want to call it.
The Great Depression.
Yeah. So I think we're getting a lot of nerves and a lot of anxious because we've just been in this whirlwind. But
The
going back
market's
historically,
been fast. The market's been the last 5 years. The market's been so quick. I think we're coming out of that.
Yeah,
And
it's like just it's plateaued, I
Yeah.
think. But there's a lot of fear out there because like I see stuff on Instagram and people are like, watch out what's coming.
Well,
There's all these and I even saw somebody, I listened to a podcast the other day and they were saying that like as agents, if you've survived this like 2023, 2024, like that's the lowest amount of real estate transactions, even lower
Since
than
95.
2008. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's this case for Utah.
Maybe not. I'm not.
Because we just went back and there were less sales in 2008 in Utah
That's
than there
true.
was currently. So I think the market still like we're doing better as a whole here in Utah than we were in 2008 because there still are more transactions happening. It's only 1,000 more though. It's not
Mhm.
that many, but our demand is still out there, and our supply is still fairly low. And I think our supply is still low is because everybody has those super low interest rates and people are like, hey, I'm okay with this low interest rate.
sitting on it.
Because I was at an open house just this past week and a guy came through and he's like, I'd love to like sell my house and buy this one. And like numbers wise, it could make sense because I still have like a ton of equity. But when we looked at the interest rate component, it would double his payment even if he was just swapping debt because he was at like a 2.75 and he'd be at like a 6.5.
And I think when it comes to that, like it's really a life situational thing.
Yeah.
Like if you need to move, that's when you move. It's all about the motivation of the seller and buyer. Like I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're going to get a better deal. You know, if you had a 2.5% rate and you're going to walk into a
What's
6.5. But
I'm curious because I think this is another thing that's changing. Like I've seen it like selling homes for about 10 years now. Like at closing tables, it's like everybody's monthly payment in the beginning was like around 1,000.
Mhm.
Then it jumped up to
Oh, man.
1,500. Then it jumped up to $2,000. What are you guys seeing nowadays as far as like an average monthly payment for most people?
you're
$2,900 to
$3,000, yeah.
$3,800.
$3,000 or more,
Yeah.
honestly. And that's
I would say
and
$3,000 to
that's
$5,000 is
yeah,
where I've
like
been
that's
seeing it.
even that's even like on a $450,000-$550,000
Yeah,
What's the highest payment you've ever seen?
I've seen some pretty high ones. Well,
I
we've done one recently that
I
was
saw it was
like 12 grand.
Yep. Oh yeah, 12 grand. Yep.
Yeah, to the point. Yeah, so
12 grand. Yep. I was gonna say I was thinking I have one right now, and he just got his thing back, and it was $11,000 something, and I was just
seems like a lot.
It's a lot.
But it depends on the income. Like it depends on the client you're working with. Because some clients they have like this business or cash flow that's coming through that's just a lot,
yep.
and they're like to them that's not that much because their income's so high. I've seen between 10 and 15,000, right?
Oof.
A lot. I had one more question I was going to ask you on this.
Here's a question I'm gonna throw out to you guys. How long do you see in the next 10 years or so that these rate locks, if people are stuck in their 2.7 to 3% interest rates, how long do you see before that really starts weeding out and we don't have that hold on the vast majority of the buyers out there?
Yeah. Like how long?
How long till
how long-
everybody's
how
sold
long-
their properties?
How
and those
long
aren't
until
really
you
around?
guys, till that really doesn't become a key factor? Because right now it's holding back probably 3/4 to half of the buyers.
Yeah.
I think that if rates come down
People will just get out. And then
to,
it'll be a price thing.
high fives, I think it would be really
I think
appealing for others.
it'll start
Mhm.
pushing them.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac have predicted rates to come down to a 6.1 by the end of the year. Obviously, it's
Yeah, it's been holding
who
strong.
knows? Like, nobody really knows what rates are going to actually do. But
Yeah.
I do think that if rates come down, to low 6s.
I feel like
high
it would
fives,
it would add gasoline to the
Absolutely.
fire,
I
and it
think the
would be
market
like a
would go up.
COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what happened after COVID. They dropped rates and everybody was buying, refinancing. Like it was just crazy.
We saw here that
Yeah.
it really hasn't gotten all that more
I-
affordable.
I
And
think
so,
Right.
you'll see obviously an increase because there's a lot of people that are just right on that fence, but I don't think you're going to see COVID. There was generations of people that when they saw that money, like I didn't really understand it at the time, how cheap that was.
Yeah.
And I had people tell me that's free money. Get as much as you can.
Right.
And we look back now and go, man, why didn't we just climb into copious amounts of debt
Right.
at 3%? Like,
Yeah.
what
Right.
were we doing?
Yeah.
Because we grew up with, bank accounts, CDs and stuff. Where you won a 2% CD was a great CD.
Yeah.
You know,
It was
You know, that was-
pointless
you
to
were
have your
making
money in there.
So
Yeah.
now it just money. It's good to be cash heavy right now.
Mhm.
It's going to be interesting to see where it goes. I think if rates don't come down, it's going to take a while to pull people out of those lower interest rates
Yeah.
because it's going to be like, hey, we have to move.
I feel like it'll be like we had another baby and we
Yeah.
don't have room,
Yeah.
or
Even
job
then,
change, or
I don't think it's the rates that are going to move them. I think, or the time that's going to move them. I think it's something has to change in their life money wise, because people just can't afford it right now.
Yeah.
Cade can because he makes a lot, but normal people like me and Peyton can't afford it.
Well, and I had this conversation with some people at open house again this past weekend about just inflation and how we saw like a hyperinflation of the US dollar when they
Dropped
right
the
after
rates,
COVID,
yeah.
and they printed a bunch of money, and so people are waiting for the prices to restabilize, but they never will with how much money they dump back into the system. And so part of it's appreciation, but I would say most of it that we're seeing just on like building a house nowadays, or like the cost of groceries or cars or gas, like a lot of those prices just aren't going to come down. And so
not enough to make
yeah,
a massive difference.
and that's what we're seeing with like our mortgage payments
Yep.
too. Like a mortgage payment that
You won't-
was $2,000 or $1,500, like
You're not gonna see that
pre-COVID,
anymore.
is now $3,000
Yep.
because of all the money they put into the
Yep.
system. Not even that the houses are like worth all that much more. It's just like that's just the cost of what a dollar is valued at now, almost.
Yeah, you'll never see, like, not never, maybe. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'd be willing to put money on it that you wouldn't see a mortgage payment of $1,500 unless you have a bunch of money.
So what do you tell people that, because I think there's a lot of people that are like, man, I want to buy a house, and they talk to their family and they're like, you're going to pay $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 a month for a house. Like, that's crazy, because my first house payment was sub $1,000. Like, what's your advice?
My
to
advice
people like
there
that?
is, if you're not willing, and it's hard, but if you can't afford that, then there's no question, right?
Yeah.
Then you're just not ready.
Yeah.
But if you can afford a house payment of $3,000, or you can afford what it is to cost to get into the market, you're going to be far better off in 5 years, 10 years from now than you would be if you're waiting to save up enough money to have a big enough down payment to have a mortgage payment of $1,500, right? You're probably really never going to save up enough unless your income is outpacing the market. And at that point,
that's hard to do.
it depends on the market. Like right now, you might be able to, but who knows what the market's going to do next year?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If the market goes up 3%, that house just went up $15,000-$20,000.
Well, and I guess in my case, like our black house, remodeled, beautiful house, our payment was $1,600 a month there. Sweet. And we upgraded to a dumpy house on more acreage that needs way more work. That's just stressful kind of at times. And our payment's $5,600 a month there.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it because I was like, yeah, like the payment's a lot more, but I have more potential with this property to turn it in what I want to. I just felt like the black house was like already done. Like it would appreciate a little bit every year, but this other one I could do like sweat equity and increase the value.
Big jumps.
Yeah.
And see, with my advice, I have two demographics. People like Peyton, who are a little bit farther along in life. They have homes, they have different things. And then I have like your first-time home buyers, and they're getting older. The first-time home buyers are not 1920 as much
No,
anymore as
100%.
25 to 30.
Yeah.
And for those guys, my advice is, look, this is the cost of it. This is what it costs to get in. Even if there's a swing in the market, it's not going to be that dramatic. We've been seeing a lot of flatline in the last couple of years. I tell those guys, if you can afford it and this is what you want, quit bitching and get in, because you're
Yeah.
going to sit on the sidelines and then be 40 and be, oh, it's too expensive. Like, quit being a puss and just be about it.
I have
Yeah.
to edit
And then
those.
you have like people in, a little bit more advanced in their life, where they got into the market earlier, and it's oh, I really want something new, but I just don't want that payment. And I have to look at them and say, well, if you don't want the payment, then don't buy it.
Yeah.
Like tough titties.
Well, and it's
You can
just-
afford it if
Yeah.
that's what the cost of things are right now. And there's no waiting game. There's no magic 8 ball. There's no trick to get into it. If you want something new,
You just have to
You
get,
have
into,
to get
it.
into
But then you get into it and you're like, man, I was a genius.
That's
Like-
that's what
like-
we were.
yeah.
100%.
Like-
We bought a nasty run. I mean, my income is changed, but like we spent pretty much every dime we could to get into a nasty rundown townhome.
Yeah.
We put a ton of money into it and flipped it essentially and made a bunch of money off of it, but that's what the market can do.
Yeah.
And if you're able to buy a home, put some work into it, increase the value, sell it, make money that way, or if you're able to just buy a place that's doable and can function for you and your family for now, and you can be in there for 5 years, 3 years, you're probably going to come out on top and you're going to make money on that property. And that's what's going to get you into the next one.
Mm-hmm.
and if you're going to be stuck, right? If you're going to be flatlined and not be able to get out of something, I'd rather not be able to get out of my own house than in a rental.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
be stuck in the rental.
If
But all of us three, I feel like we can do the sweat equity. You're like, you just did a full yard. You've
Yep.
done like a full remodel on your house, added septic, retaining walls, and
Well, and it's not that hard. Like,
I know, but some people don't like that. Like I have some clients that just like
I don't like that.
that don't want to have to deal with anything like that. So if you're not willing to do any sweat equity, what do you do in this market?
right now, honestly, if you don't want to do any sweat equity, in my opinion, and you're looking to kind of get in at a good deal,
Yeah.
my opinion is you go find, you're either super particular on the type of seller that you're looking for
Yeah.
to purchase from, or you go find a new construction build at the moment. Because a lot of those new constructions, they're offering really good type rate buy downs,
Well, and that's what you
incentives
just
and stuff
did,
like that.
too.
Yeah, 100%.
And you put a rental in the basement.
put a rental in the basement.
How has
That's
it
a great
been?
idea. It's been great.
That's been your first rental in the basement, and
Yep.
you have 2 kids.
Yep.
And you haven't had a rental in the basement before. Does it bother you?
No, so the tenant we have, she is family, which is kind of nice. We know who's there, but it's $1,000 every month that we don't even do anything to get. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? She's quiet. She keeps to herself, which is nice, and not every tenant's going to be that way. And that's something you're just going to have to kind of take that risk, I guess. But
So we finally rented our side. I'm renting a side of my new house in Eden out too. And you would think like at some point you'd get sick of that. Carly's like, this is the last time we're doing this. But it's funny because our tenant, we had him over for dinner on Father's Day yesterday, and it was great. And I'm like, this is awesome. But and he like trying to remember, it's like 18 grand a year additional
Yeah.
that's coming in. And I think people underestimate how easy it is to put somebody into a basement. I have a cousin-in-law. They built a new house, and they put 2 units in their basement. I'm not sure how he did it, but he put 2 units. My cousin also has one in Draper. He put 2 units in the basement. So they have like these single-family homes, but they're like triplexes, and they're renting them out, and they haven't had issues, and they're in Salt Lake County.
see, one thing that's kind of cool, I've seen people do, and you can ask a lender to run the numbers, whatever, but like you could take my 6.125 interest rate,
Yeah.
take my mortgage, subtract $1,000 on that, and figure out what that rate would have to be to match to get that $1,000 deduction.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be significant.
Yeah.
It'd be a large rate drop. And so
Yeah.
there's if you're looking to get into the market, you don't want to pay $3,000 or whatever it is. There's ways to do it, but
Yeah.
it will take maybe a bit of a sacrifice.
Yeah. I
Well-
think you can get creative.
And I'm going to touch on this just real quick, not to ramble, but we always talk about like, oh, sweat equity, this and that, getting in, how you can get that money. And sometimes I think people lose sight of, some people don't give a shit about that. I just want a house to live in. make my payment. I don't want to rent it to anybody else,
Mhm.
and I want to be done with it.
Yeah.
And I think you see there's a lot of communities out there where you don't have to, you have an HOA or they take care of the lawns and yards, and so don't think, oh, if I can't have a basement rental or anything, I can't, or I won't, or I shouldn't do it. It's not smart. That's not some people's motivation. So if you're just looking for a house, that's okay too, to not have to somehow flip it or put sweat equity.
Yeah.
We're just in that game, and so we're constantly
Well,
churning that.
we're trying to figure out, because we're
Yeah.
all on limited budgets, so we're trying to figure out
Mhm.
how to
Septicate.
how to get our dreams, but also
Not pay for them.
not pay for
Yeah.
them or help pay
get
for
there a
them.
little quicker, you know.
But
rather than trying to
The American
save
dream
up.
is to make money but not have to work for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But there's some people, you're right, that are like they can afford the $5 or $6 or $7 or $10,000 a month payment, and they're like, and I think there is something to be said, like you only have so many years to enjoy these properties or where you live with family and friends, and like I see a lot of people that put money over the memories, and it's like you can't take the money with you.
Mhm.
And I think there comes a point where you have to realize, like, deal or not, how much do you want these memories in that location of where you want to be? Because where you call home is like one of the largest and most important decisions that you can make
Yeah.
in your life, I think. And I think far too many people put the money over
Memories.
over the memories, right? Like you going to Hawaii, that probably wasn't cheap. But
Yeah,
you
but
made,
I left my kids home, so it
Yeah,
was okay.
I know. But it's just like a vacation. Like
Yeah.
it costs a lot to get there, but then that's something you will always talk about for the rest of your life. And I look at my kids, and like while that was not a comfortable move for us to make, I love it. And
Well,
it's just cool where we're
One
at.
thing that we look back on our last property that we bought that needed a ton of work, and it was a lot of work, but like it became home,
Yeah.
right? As badly as I did not want to buy that property,
Yeah.
Michaela talked me into it, and obviously it was a fantastic idea, and it was the best thing that we ever
Don't
did.
be
but-
sucking up to her.
But like the
just 'cause
truth
she's not
is
here.
like that house became our home because of the wife and the kids and the stuff we were
Yeah.
doing in the home. And so I think the security of having your house, and we can talk about the payments not going to go up and whatever, but outside of that, just having your place that's yours, I think there's a lot to say about that.
I love it. But I find that I have a brother and a brother-in-law that are in that younger generation, and I don't think they care.
And they don't care.
They don't care about,
It's true.
like, I'm like, man, just getting out there and fixing up the yard or doing this like sweat equity. I like that. And they're like, I'd just rather pay somebody to do it. Like, I don't want to have to worry about it. Or
That's fair.
both of them have houses that they bought and they don't live in them. And I'm like, that makes no sense.
They're renting them out.
Yeah, they're renting them out and then renting a place somewhere else. I'm like, well, to each their own. So
Yeah.
I don't fully understand all of it, but I do agree with you. I think most people, and granted, they are in a different phase of life where they don't have fully established families. One of them's getting there, and I think they will want to like kind of
Settle
plant
down.
those roots
Yeah.
as that happens. But even if you're not, if you're single, like rent out the rooms. There's a lot of cool things you can do that way. Anyways, I think for every dream, there's a way to make it happen in this market. You really just have to like find the right team, the right plan, strategize, and then you can really make it happen. But
Yeah.
it all starts with like, hey, what do we want? Where do we want to be?
What's your goal?
Yeah, I wanted a longhorn cow. We got a longhorn cow.
I don't think you wanted that. I think that was a tickle in your ear. And you jumped on it.
It's crazy, but here we are. So, anyways, anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up?
No.
We got our buyer guides. These are out, and we have our seller guides. So if you guys are looking at buying or selling, let us know. We can send you one of these, kind of help get you preparing. They're big decisions. Bless you. They're big decisions. Don't take it lightly. Like, it takes a lot of planning, a lot of prep. And I think the biggest thing is reach out to us as you're wanting to change things up, because we can help you through that process.
Well, and don't hesitate to ask questions.
Right.
Like, I think that's the biggest. Like, they're curious. They want to know if they can do it, but they're nervous, or they don't know who to reach out to, or they
Yeah.
don't know when to reach out to. Like, just do it. Just ask
Yeah.
anybody you know
Yeah.
that's involved in real estate to get the ball rolling.
Right. Yeah. See, because
Not anybody you know me.
ask Ben.
Ask Ben.
Just not when
But
he has a
even
migraine.
even like in my case, like the house that we're in, I showed it to a bunch of people, and I'm like, we can't afford that. We can't do that right now. And then I started like
Mhm.
diving into it. I'm like, oh, actually, I think we could pull it off, and we can do this strategy. So there's always ways to kind of figure it out.
Yeah, and I think the more you're willing to look, you can find somebody who can help you get to where you want to go.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a great summer. Till next time.
Love you. Bye.